What's going on, everybody? Kensu here. What's up? What's up? What's up? What's going on, YouTube? How we feeling? How we feeling? All right, you guys. Tokon Beta 3. I want to give you guys my thoughts on this current build of the game. We're 2 weeks away, roughly, from launch, and I have a lot to say this time. I'm gonna go through the good, the bad, the indifferent, all the other good stuff. So let's lock in. Let's get right to it. Let's not waste no time with this. So before I move on, real quick, a lot of you guys watching these videos are not subscribed to the channel, so go on ahead and lock it in. Stay up to date with everything on the channel. Go on ahead. You know what to do. Do your boy solid. And with that being said, let's take a look at this, right? So the beta, right? My initial thoughts. Right, first and foremost, I definitely want to say that I absolutely enjoyed this version of the game. I think this version was fantastic, right? The changes made, I think, are really well done, and it feels to me it's gonna be a great game on launch. Like, I really like what we have here. And with that being said, essentially, these are my thoughts. These are, thoughts coming from purely from what I've played and looked at over the course of the weekend. And with that being said, the team that I played was Doom and Shuri, or Black Panther. These are my two openers. And Magneto, Storm, and or Magic for the 4th slot. Tried Blade, wasn't the happiest with them. We'll talk about that later. So let's go with the team, right? You guys should already know here on this channel, I stan Dr. Doom. I love that character to death. And having him on the same team with Magneto is just fantastic. I ended up falling in love with Black Panther because that character is just amazing to me. There's so many options that she has, and she seems to be like a very scary character in the right hands. So I see myself continuing with Shuri for the foreseeable future. Magneto is just a no-brainer. I just love Magneto. I've been playing Magneto for a hot minute, but yeah, with that being said, Storm's pretty interesting. I felt like there was so much to learn with her, but I played her really late, unfortunately. Magic, I think, is pretty easy for the most part to kind of get your hands on, but I didn't spend that much time with her. She was just mostly an assist for me, not gonna lie. But these were the characters that I played, and needless to say, they were very fun. I'm going to get to a point in this where I talk about danger as well, but simply put, before I get to that section, I played her a little bit at Combo Breaker, but playing her in this build did not feel as good as it did at Combo Breaker, unfortunately. So it kind of was off-putting, unfortunately. But that's going to be it roughly about the characters at the moment. I'm going to get to the other parts of this that I think are really important. So the good, right? Outside of my team, right? Team's great, but the good. First and foremost, the tag system feels infinitely better. I do like the changes here. It does feel way more intuitive. So it feels like a really, really good change for how this is now with the active switch. And yeah, tag team stuff feels nice. Team building, theory crafting here in this game is extremely fun. This is probably one of my favorite parts of this game. I got some solo time to just play off stream and just kind of look at the characters and started really building teams and thinking of how they would operate in the game, like functionally together. And this part of Marvel Tokon is super fun, super duper fun. Let's see. I think the tactics of the game are a bit stronger. In other words, like strategies. I feel like strategies in this game are really good now in comparison to what I saw in the previous builds. So even though this is a little bit of a broad stroke here saying tactics are a little bit stronger, it just means strategy, right, as a whole. But I think also there's a clearer understanding of what goes on in this game, and I think this is really good for newer players. And it's something that kind of needed to happen. I think this is one of the few things that kind of suck about versus games or tag games. I don't want to say versus games, I say tag games. Sometimes the game can be too quick and it's hard for the viewer to keep up with what's going on. And I think Tokon definitely helps alleviate that with how big the models are, how kind of zoomed in the game is a little bit, and all the other good stuff, so that you can kind of see visually what's happening and it's not just a bunch of visual vomit. Not to say the other tag games were visual vomit, maybe except for Marvel Infinite, but you know what I'm trying to say here. It's a lot easier to understand what's happening here. Now this part here is a little bit more of an intricate / high level thing here, so just bear with me. I believe Marvel Tokon introduces a whole new, unique, and particular to this game, mind you, risk-reward ratio system that requires a bit more exploration of the game and its system, aka the counterplay to this game is very unique. So you can't 100% look at this game's counterplay as you would previous titles. I think you'd kind of be hurting yourself if you did. There are quite a few tactics that do carry over in this game, but how prominent they'll be in the long haul is hard to say. But generally speaking, I feel the risk-reward system in this game feels a lot nicer. And I'll give you an example of that, right? This might get a little bit of pushback, but I'm just gonna say it for what it is, right? A lot of times in tag fighters, players will do a very unsafe option and then press the assist button to erase that unsafeness. And then that option now becomes safe. You took the bait. Now they're able to kind of like push the offense from that point, from that, you know, and it's definitely a tactic, right? But hear me out. It's just the way assists work in this game and the way you have to play it. You can't just throw things out, because even on block, a lot of the heavy attacks are pretty high in negative frames. For example, Captain America standing H is actually like -13 on block, and you actually need to either special cancel or call your assist in order to shave away those negative frames. And even then, in some cases, the repressure from that point can be tricky, because if you try to dash, I think depending on the assist that you do, I think if it's a lariat assist, I think you'd probably be +4 to +5, somewhere in that ballpark, so you will be able to take like a bit of a micro step. But barring how far away you are whenever you do call the lariat assist, it will determine how far you can run up before they can actually intercept you, so the repressure isn't like 100% real. Instead, you'd have to take to either using one of your special moves, maybe your external movement option, to kind of throw off whatever their retaliation is. So that's where I think the game actually shines. There's other risk reward things in which I'd mention, but it'll be too much to mention here. But just know that this system definitely rewards you for knowing the frame data. It definitely rewards you for knowing how to basically just play the game, if you will. And that's most fighting games, but I think in this game in particular, because you know tag fighters are like notorious for being kind of cluttered, yeah, it's good to know that there's a risk reward system that actually can favor players that understand or take the time out to understand just a little bit more. Neutral feels a lot better as well, and projectiles feel strong. I feel like this era of fighting games in particular, they're trying to make sure that fireballs feel good. So this is kind of like no surprise as far as I'm concerned. Now this next one is a personal favorite of mine. This is one of the last options. This is one of the last things here I want to say about the good. The movement around the projectiles and around the screen in general is very good. Like, movement in this game feels so comfortable. Like, it's what I wish the Guilty Gear Strive could be. Not to say that Strive's a bad game at this point or anything like that, but in this game in particular, you do get to hold on to your running momentum and keep your inertia while moving forward, which is really, really, really good for your jumps and creating new methods of attack or new angles of attack, new entry points against your opponent's defense, which is extremely nice. And those things are also held when you have characters with flight and you still have your double jump or your air dash still available, which is really, really nice. So movement feels good. Feels very, very, very good. And you have the aerial assembly counter that you have the air assembly counter, which also allows newer players a way to counterplay the zoning of the game, which I think is very good, and it makes the movement around the screen even more greater than initially what I thought. As I got better at the game and started seeing the aerial assembly counter, that's really good. That thing really helps with zoning, really helps with just being able to get in. It is unironically a good mechanic. So I think the good thing here is that ArcSys is doing what they can to help newer players understand what's going on. Now I do want to get into the bad of the game. So first and foremost, the PC port definitely needs work. I think this part is not good. I have a really good rig, mind you, and I have a 4070. The game runs fine on my system. The compiling of the shaders definitely took a minute. It runs well, don't get me wrong, on my system, but I'd imagine on some rigs it's just not very good. And I say that by way of seeing so many people complaining about it on socials, so it's like, they kind of need to take a look at this. Not to mention all the data encryption and stuff like that they have for it, which it makes sense. You know, they don't want anyone to hack the game and crack it before launch. Totally understandable. Totally understandable. But even in the same vein, it's like the bloat, and that's what I'm guessing here, is that the bloat of all the security things that they have in the game is what's causing the hold up. So yeah, that kind of sucks. But that was an issue. I think the crossplay felt like it was one-sided rollback, which is a little frustrating too. I had a chance to play a friend, you know, my nephew One Wolf. Shout out to my boy One Wolf. And we were playing on the PC version, and it was kind of chugging a little bit. Then the PS5 version, which is what I was playing on, I didn't play PC at all. We were able to not connect, unfortunately, at first. And then eventually it just worked out and we were able to play just fine, and it felt a lot better. So I'm hoping there's no one-sided rollback, but the rollback in itself is mostly okay when you play, you know, console to console. I think console to PC, not very good. Not to mention the lobbies, while they're great, they were desyncing. I was checking out TNS a little bit on Sunday, just watching the VODs and just seeing that, oh wow, there were some issues with match desyncing, amongst other things, people getting booted from the lobbies, all kinds of stuff. So it's unfortunate that, you know, these things weren't working as intended, but this is a beta. There's gonna be issues. I don't expect the beta to be perfect. So it's good that we were able to see those errors along the way with the beta for tournament. So hopefully they get that ironed out before launch. I mean, my online experience with the game wasn't necessarily the worst. I don't feel like I had too many bad connections when I did play. So I don't really have much to say about online connectivity outside of just, I think the crossplay is not very good right now. But like I said, that's something that can get fixed in time. It's not like it's the first time a company's had crossplay and it's had issues. My hope is that ArcSys, Marvel, and Sony get it together on launch. And if not, well, hopefully they get it fixed later. Other than that, I feel that the DP inputs in this game are way too rigid. I'm not exactly sure what's up with these newer fighting games and making Dragon Punch inputs like the hardest thing in the world to do. I don't understand what this is about, but it's a very annoying thing. This is likely an easy fix, to be honest with you. It's just the input system. So I hope that they kind of look into that and loosen up the Dragon Punch inputs, because you need those inputs for like mad characters. So unless they intend to make the Dragon Punch inputs down, which they already have a down input in the game, it's like, okay, if you're gonna hold on to it and make it a bit easier, alternatively, I can, and everyone else can, also use the quick skill button. But you know, you shouldn't have to resort to that for a Dragon Punch input, or any input for that matter, if you want to do the motion inputs. It leads me to believe a little bit that the game was initially designed to be used with the quick skill button, but they decided to add, you know, motion inputs anyway because Grand Blue. So I can't complain too much, but it's something that I hope gets fixed. Now, the other thing I thought that was bad is the main defensive mechanic is the crossover reflect. Essentially, it's your on block burst, right? Now, perfect reflect is probably, in my honest opinion, way too good, and the window that they have for it should be way smaller. If you're not familiar with, you know, the reflect, what ends up happening is your character does the guard cancel, then if your opponent reads it, not even needs to read, you just react to it, and you press, you know, your reaction to it, you have the ability to lock out your enemy player from being able to use their assembly gauge if they hit a perfect. So that's pretty scary in itself. And the regular one, it'll still happen. It just, you don't get all the extra perks. Now, I think making the perfect reflect a 2-frame window would add a bit more nuance to it, and the person that misses with it will get knocked down or something like that, right? And then conversely, I think that the regular crossover reflect, I think that should just be a 3-frame window. This way, because I mean, you essentially have 2 windows as it stands. Or the way it feels in a sense, maybe not 2 chances, right? But it feels like maybe there's like a timer. Think of it as Gears of War active reload, right? Give you a little bar. By the time your thing hits the bar, you press your reload button and you get active reload, right? So I could see it being something along those lines, like under the hood. But yeah, I think this mechanic, sadly enough, does need work. I think the easiest compromise is just to like shorten the windows, because I think players would even like intermediate players can still react to that, which is huge. And that's a good thing. That also goes back to what I said earlier about the good, which is the ability to see what's happening in the game, like the readability of the game. So I do hope that this gets changed, because right now I think it's I will throw a caveat to it, actually, you guys, now that I'm thinking about it, is that when you do use the grounded assembly counter, this is essentially what you should be using in the game as a reversal option, which is back and back, assist, and light, where they do the little back step. If you do it in neutral, it's just an overhead with armor, but this one is like, it's essentially your DP, and you have to be completely clear of your block stun in order to get it to come out. Otherwise, you'll just waste your assembly gauge. So if there's a gap, you can call it out with that, which is nice. But if you're wrong, then you get the crossover, because it'll be on block, right? So you'll get the crossover, and then like, well, I wanted to do this. Well, now you're stuck with this. So this is why I think that like they should make it to where the windows are smaller. Or you can make it, funnily enough, I'll reach into my bag of tricks here and reach out for a game that very beloved in the fighting game community, and it's Rival Schools, Project Justice. I would say like it'll be cool when you do the reflect counter that maybe those 2 characters that you're playing have to do a mini fight or something like that, But like I said before, if they miss if the opposing player misses the counter, then all right, cool, then you just reverse them and now it's your turn. It's like reverse, Uno reverse. All right, cool, hold that, reverse, skip, draw 4, whatever. Anyway, point is, having something like that would be really nice, so that it's not just so jarring, especially knowing that it's tied to another system mechanic. So that's my thoughts there on that. But now I want to get into things that I'm kind of indifferent about. And now here's where I get to talk about Danger. Danger's hover dash change, I think, is a bit much. I suppose with her zoning capabilities, her being able to get a simple mix-up for a dash input might be a bit much for her stature. Not entirely sure, but the extra execution check definitely says you're gonna have to use an assist if you want to like do offense with her, because her hover dash was different when I played it at Combo Breaker, and you can see the difference actually in the hover dash with if you go look at the system changes video that they made, and then you go look at Danger's character guide, you'll see it. It's blatant. So yeah, I'm not the happiest about that, because I was really excited to play Danger, to be honest with you guys, but that kind of turned me off. But she's likely still a good character. I'm just kind of stepping away from Danger for the time being, at least until full launch. I'll revisit Danger for sure though, that's highly likely. Additionally, just coming back to crossover, I think as a defensive mechanic it's good, but perfect is a little too good. So as you can see, I'm still indifferent about crossover in itself. It's just the perfect is kind of crazy. Then there is needing a lot of buttons to play the game. it leads you to have a lot of shortcut keys to try to help you out, but like ultimately I really think Tokon's got a little too many buttons right now, and I think it may or may not be as intuitive to play on a controller as it is to play on maybe a leverless, because the buttons are flat. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm a little indifferent. I think it's mostly okay that we have a lot of buttons in a sense, but like I think they should find more ways to make more button layouts feel comfortable based on what they currently have and what the game requires you to have on your controller. Does that make sense? Like, for example, do I really need to have, light and assist mapped to a button for the crossover reflect when it could just be assist plus any button, right? Then I would just press my assist plus medium, because the way my button scheme is laid out is light, medium, heavy at the top, and then unique assist tag, right? And then underneath that would be like my thumb dash, and then after that the one next to it again is quick skill. So I have a lot of attack buttons on my leverless as we speak right now, so it's kind of like this might be much, and yeah, that's like I said, I'm a little indifferent about it, but I do think we might need to cut back on some things. Then there is this right here. This is a little bit more intricate, so bear with me. Instant air dash is greater than flight, and flight is greater than 8-way dash movement. Currently, I think this hierarchy is fine personally, but I can see why some would be concerned about the 8-way dashes and their overall potency. For sure, I can tell you guys, flight does feel really strong, especially with Iron Man. I'm kind of curious how this is going to pan out over time in regards to the hierarchy changing. Maybe it might balance itself out. Who knows? We'll see. All in all, if you got to the end of this video, appreciate you. We're closing out here, right? But I had a lot of fun. I think this was my personal favorite build of the game. As someone that played the absolute first build behind closed doors, for those of you that don't know this, I did play the very first build behind closed doors. Shout outs to Marvel and ArcSys and Sony for allowing me to do that. But that build was great, and I had a lot of energy and hype towards it. My concerns, if you guys can see on the channel, I have 2 videos already talking about the previous betas and my concerns. My initial thing still was, at the time, how assists were working and stuff like that. Pretty much all those things got addressed here, which is great. I really like the way the game plays now. I'm definitely going to be here for the long haul, or until they do something that makes me upset. But I'm going to be doing my best to stick with it. I think it's already a fun game so far from what I've played. I can't wait for full launch. Of course, I'm going to be playing a lot of Doctor Doom. You guys already know I am probably one of the biggest Doctor Doom fanboys you're going to see here for this game. So hopefully ArcSys keeps him good, and I can keep cooking with them. But I'm excited. I'm definitely excited. There's so much to look forward to. I know, and don't get me wrong, I'm aware of the Cyclops thing as well. I did see that. I just didn't throw any reaction or anything up for it, but just know that I am aware of a lot of things that are happening in the Tokon world. It's just right now I'm gearing up for other things for you guys, for this channel, for Tokon in the future. So yeah, man, for me, this is a big W. No game is without flaws, you know what I mean? Trust me, no game is without flaws. But I think overall this is definitely a big fat dub. I'm loving almost everything about this game. I think from the bad portions, as long as they can address those things, and I'm sure there's other people in the community that have their concerns too, so hopefully those get listened to, and hopefully that those get taken into consideration as well. I think there's a lot of people that just want to enjoy this game in more ways than one. So I hope that at the end of the day, we can reach a good middle ground for this game for a lot of people to be able to play it. Because I think this is going to be one of the best times. We're going to have a whole new community, a whole new, everything, you guys. And I know I'm yapping here, but it just goes to show how excited I am for this, you know what I mean? I really want to see what's going to happen with this game in terms of competition, in terms of DLC, in terms of the tech, combos. I can't wait to see how this game opens up over time. it's gonna be a wild ride. So I'm getting ready for launch. Hopefully you guys are too, and I think that's gonna do it here, man. Talk to me though. Let me know how you guys felt about the beta, the characters that you were playing, the characters you want to play on launch. Let me know. Talk to me. Let's have a conversation about what's going on in Tokon, and let's keep the conversation positive, you guys. All right, let's. If you came to watch this video and the only thing you got out of this was something negative, please, I implore you, please don't even waste your keyboard time typing out anything buck wild. I'm not saying you don't have any room to criticize. That's not what I'm saying. I know some people got some crazy things to say, but the point of the matter is, please, let's keep it positive, right? We got fighting games that are doing really good right now, and I'd like to keep that positive energy up in the comment section as well. Let me get up out of here. I'll catch you guys in the next one.